government run its activities.
Wow! Arguments and counter-arguments on topical issues and events trending in Nigeria. Politics, rule of law, judiciary, economy, trade and commerce, education, security, name it. Issues in the news on OSBC Radio 104.5 FM in Yabu, Bale, Oshogo is a veritable platform to belong. We are set to serve you hot every Monday between 10 and 10:45 in the morning. Join Babatunde Okutomi on Issues in the News. It promises to be educating and informative.
Good morning, welcome to Issues in the News on OSBC. I'm Babatunde Oguntomi. Yes, Ekiti State governorship election held last Saturday. OSBC was there for 4 solid days to cover that major event, and Ekiti and Osun sometimes behave like a Siamese twins. We share the same culture, language, and we behave almost the same way. So whatever happened or still happens in Ekiti State can have a contagious effect on Osun State too. So OSBC showed interest in whatever was happening in Ekiti State last Thursday, and a team of senior officers, or a crew rather, using the appropriate register of journalists was sent to Ekiti State. The team was led by Adeyemi Aboderi, and is back. We feel this morning we should share experience with us on in Ekiti State. Whatever you garner in Ekiti State, he will be sharing with us on this platform. Today, Ekiti State was alive, so to say, and we had the election went smoothly. There had been no report of anything negative so much. The APC, represented by Biodun Oyebanji, was said to have won the election. Not even said to have won. He won the election because he was declared winner by INEC. SDP was represented in that election by former governor Engineer Segun Oni. Our core party by Ruben Famun Yibo. And of course the PDP was represented by BC Kolawole. We have female candidates too that stood at that election. We have ADP was represented by Elebute Josephine Kemi. Of course we have Christiana Modupe Olatawura stood in for APP. Yemi Abodeni, you were there. I was not there. You saw it. So we want to tap from whatever you saw. How was the election in Ekiti State?
Well, we appreciate the Almighty God first and foremost for the journey message to and back from Ekiti. And we want to appreciate the management of OSBC for approving that a crew be sent to Ekiti to cover the election for the teaming followers of OSBC to be abreast with the situation during the election in Ekiti State. We were in Ekiti State since Thursday last week through Sunday, when the final results were announced at the INEC headquarters, and throughout our stay in Ekiti, I want to submit that the situation was generally peaceful in Ekiti State. The Ekiti State election was one of the stand-alone elections, governorship elections in Nigeria. So the authority concerned were able to mobilize enough security personnel to Ekiti State to ensure an itch-free exercise. According to the Commissioner of Police in Ekiti State, over 18,000 policemen were mobilized. Okay,
we are coming to that. Yes. What were you fed with for the 4 days you were there?
Ekiti people, they are renowned for being lovers of pounded yam. But when you are in a state where you are more or less a stranger there, you need to be careful where you go, where you move to. So we were being careful moving to the Bukateria to hit most of the time. So we usually fed with what we could find along the roadside, most especially corns. Taufik and my driver, they love corn very much, so we relied mostly on
now
on
you've
that.
spoken about security. We're still coming to discuss that in relatively detailed level, but what's about the people's conduct generally?
The atmosphere in Ekiti was generally peaceful. When we got to Ekiti on Thursday, we moved around the town, Ado Ekiti, the state capital, to first-hand information of the situation in Ekiti state. And Ado, being the state capital, represented the entire situation in the state. And the enthusiasm on the faces of the Ekiti people was evident that they were anxiously waiting for the D-Day to come, that is Saturday's election. They were going about their businesses peacefully, without hindrance, without any let. So the atmosphere in Ekiti, in Ado Ekiti, before the D-Day was generally peaceful, and there was no commotion in Ado Ekiti before the election. And on the election day, as I said before, being one of the standalone governorship election in the country, the mobilization of security personnel to Ekiti state enabled the election to be generally peaceful. At least we traversed about 8 local governments throughout on the day of the election. We moved from Ado Ekiti, we went to Ifaki. Ifaki is the hometown of the candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Segun Oni. We were there. There are some towns and villages along to Ifaki. When we got there, there were people on the queue already voting. The voting started at exactly 8:30 in the morning, as planned, as scheduled by INEC, and we started monitoring the voting from Ado Ekiti at 8:30. When we got to Ifaki, the hometown of Segun Oni, the people are on the queue already. They were voting, and we were at about 5 polling units in Ifaki, and the situation was peaceful in Ifaki. From Ifaki, we traversed about 3 other local governments to Igede. Igede is another prominent town. Yes, Igede. Ado. Okay. So we went from Ifaki to Igede, passing through about 6-7 other towns to monitor the situation, and the story was the same. In Igede, the same. From Igede, then we moved to Aramoko, another prominent town in Ekiti. From Aramoko, we went as far as Erinjinya, Ekiti. Erinjinya is a border town with Ikogosi.
Yeah, that's on the way to
Ikogosi. Ikogosi is the hometown of the candidate of the APC.
That's
Abiodun Oyebanji.
The winner now.
Yeah.
The governor-elect.
The governor-elect now.
Okay.
We went there. We went to his polling unit. We were unable to speak with him.
That means the Ikogosi tourist center could receive a boost.
Of course,
by
yes.
way of
one major attraction to Ikogosi is the road network in the town. Maybe because Ikogosi, where the warm and the cold water met, is a major tourist center in the Ekiti state. The road leading in and out of the town was neatly tarred. There's no pothole in any of the road within Ikogosi, which is the hometown of the governor-elect of
the governor-elect has been the
secretary to the state government until he was picked as the candidate of the APC then.
Okay, now looking at the preparation by INEC, aside the fact that voting started normally, was there anything like a shortage of
the distribution of sensitive materials started on Thursday when we got to Ado-Ekiti, and we went straight to the INEC headquarters along New Inn Road in Ado-Ekiti, and we met them at the point of distributing sensitive materials, the result sheet, which is mostly important in the outcome of any election. They were at that point distributing the result sheet to INEC officials, local government by local government. There are 16 local governments in Ekiti State, and ironically, 16 governorship candidates also contested the election. So the distribution of sensitive materials was completed on Friday. By Saturday, when the Ekiti people went to the poll, one major novel idea introduced into the election was the use of bimodal voter accreditation system. They call it in short for BVAS. Instead of the fingerprint that was used to accredit voter, the BVAS use facial capturing with pad. The INEC official will use pad to capture your face, and if the pad recognizes your face immediately, you are given the ballot to go and vote. And that is the process between accreditation and voting. This time around, the two goes simultaneously. The new technology work effectively
and remove some setbacks that we
usually experience in the previous election.
Now, listeners at home, if you are just joining us, the program is Issues in the News, and we're in the studio with the OSBC team leader that went to Ado-Ekiti to cover the election. Adeyemi Abodere, people came out.
Yes.
And they conducted themselves
peacefully. Yes, maturely.
Now, INEC did the best it could offer
to eliminate
rigging,
manipulation of election results.
But maybe because politicians could not manipulate by way of because of what INEC had put in place.
Yes.
We heard about serious vote buying and selling. Did you notice anything? The social media had been watched by the story of EFCC arresting somebody or some people for buying and selling votes.
If I submitted that there were no vote buying in Ekiti election, all the media have reported massive vote buying, and from our own point, from our own angle, we saw it happened in Ekiti State. Honestly, that aspect remained what need to be eliminated from election in Nigeria. INEC has done its best, and talking about INEC conduct of Ekiti election, they have ensured that every vote counts in the Ekiti election with the introduction of BVAS accreditation system. So kudos must be given to officials of INEC for conducting a free, fair, transparent and acceptable election in Ekiti State. Though some politicians will still come to contest the result of the election, but going by the use of BVAS, it is difficult to contest the result of that election. But the aspect that remained to be looked into, maybe by officials of the anti-graft agencies and other agencies, is the vote buying aspect of.
Why do you think people who are interested in money before they could cast their vote for candidates of their choice?
Maybe they believed, the previous believed that if the politician get to the position, they won't remember the electorate again. So I should use this one to cash out,
whatever I can
get from the government, Then the level of
how do we blame the economy?
The level of poverty. That is where I'm going. The level of poverty, is too distressing. Many people, even the old. You see them taking money in exchange for their votes.
Yes,
for their conscience.
We'll get there. Now, the next question it occurs to me to ask you. 187,000 votes for the winner. That's Mr. BC, Mr.
Abiodun
Oyebamiji of the APC.
Yeah.
That representing 53% of the total votes. Engineer Oni emerged runner-up with 82,000 votes. Then the third person, the person that came third, the PDP candidate,
BC Kolawole.
The total votes in that garnered by the three leading candidates is put at 336,000. Is Ekiti not more than that?
Yeah,
that's what we have to offer.
The voter apathy to that election, around 988,000 voters were registered in Ekiti State for that election. And going by the percentage of the total number of those who voted on the election day is about 46%
of the total
total number of registered voter. One thing maybe that accounted for that low number of those who participated, I won't say turnout, those who participated in the election, is the use of Beaver's accreditation system. If you registered, some people, engage in multiple registrations. But with Beaver's system, if you registered more than once, with facial capturing, it will only recognize you once. So it means if you register 6 times, the other 5 are wasted. So the first card you use to vote will be registered, and subsequent card will be rejected through the facial recognition introduced by INEC. So that first and foremost reduced the number of those who participated in the election. Secondly, there were apathy of some to that election.
People were apathetic.
Yes.
Why did
some people went to the farm even before the start of the election. We went out as far as 6 a.m. to see the situation in town, and you see people rushing out of town to the farms, to elsewhere, before the start of the election.
But were they scared of the overwhelming security apparatus?
The personnel, the police personnel in Ekiti State assured residents of their safety, that the security personnel mobilized for the election were not there to threaten or intimidate them, but to ensure their safety.
Because we have our own election coming less than a month.
They were assured, and I want to use this medium to appeal to voters in Osun State. There will be massive mobilization of security personnel to Osun State as well, like it happened in Ekiti State. People should not entertain any fear. They will come to ensure our safety before, during, and after the election. So people should stay around to cast their vote for the candidate of their choice on the day of the election.
I want to thank you most sincerely for that encouraging words that you have offered the electorate in the state. Now, why did the PDP perform abysmally poorly in that election, coming third, not even second?
Well, as a reporter, as a political scientist, and as an analyst, we look at 2 reasons for the failure of the PDP to make headway in that election. Prior to the election, there were political horse trading within the PDP between or among the former governor Fayose, Senator Abiola Olujimi, and
Abiodun
Olujimi, and Segun Oni, who was previously in the party.
Okay, he moved out of
the PDP into the SDP. So his defection or his movement from the PDP to the SDP. No, he went with so many members of the PDP to the SDP. It greatly affected the fortune of the PDP in that election, and maybe to some extent, the major gladiator in the PDP, the former governor Ayodele Fayose, is gradually losing his relevance in the PDP. That might have accounted for the abysmal performance.
Because the results shows that Oni is more popular than the
candidate of the PDP. Yes. Yes,
Adeyemi, Osun is our own.
Of course.
And I said something parabolically that whatever happens to one eye will affect the other. We are preparing. How do we ensure that we get our own done probably better than what they did in Ekiti State?
Well, first and foremost, we need to assure the electorate in Osun State that this time around their vote we can't. Going by the Beavers system used in accreditation of voters in Ekiti State, they should be assured that their vote we can't this time around. So they should come out en masse to cast their vote on the election day, July 16 this year. 1, 2, that their security will be assured. If what we saw in Ekiti in terms of mobilization of security personnel, civil defense, they also mobilized about 10,000 personnel to Ekiti State, apart from other sister agencies like the FRSC and immigration and so on and so forth. So the security of their lives will be assured on the election day in Osun State. And they should, in their mind, know that this time around, they should choose between a government that is performing and, no.
It was performance part of what
the emergence of Abiodun Oyebanji as governor in Ekiti, as governors elect.
You were told that by the people.
Yes. They confided in us that the government in power is performing massively. So the same thing we expect in Osun State.
Do we have the impact of the just concluded national presidential primaries of both major parties having impact on that election too? Like you have presidential candidates of the parties, of the main parties, they were in Ekiti State to canvass for the Guma candidates.
Only the presidential candidate of the APC was in Ekiti State. It was there on Tuesday last week.
Atiku didn't come.
There was no final.
Obi didn't come.
There was no final campaign program for PDP. So they didn't have any final campaign or mega rally.
Did you envisage that people can still go to court to contest the verdict of that election?
People will still go to court. Like the Shegun Oni has said that he won't accept the result of the election, that he will go to court. So the court is there for the aggrieved to seek redress. So they will still go. I expect them to go to court. But the system used by INEC for the conduct of that election is fraud-free.
So you have to do your own work, your own assignment properly.
Yeah.
If you want to contest election.
We
want to thank you most sincerely for coming.
Thank you, sir.
When you go to Ekiti State now, you went to Ekiti State now. Yeah. Where is the next destination that I got? It's like you are now the head of the research team.
We are back in our home state.
Osun.
Yes, we are back in our home state. And
you are already hiring a constituency where you will go.
Well, that depends on the decision of the management of the corporation.
We put
We
you
are-
somewhere.
we have
know
not-
the stuff you are made of.
We have 9 federal constituencies in Ocean State, and to the glory of
I know
God.
where you are going already. I want to thank you most sincerely, listeners. That's what happened in Ekiti State. Sometimes people will just be talking. You have to put your house in order
Yeah.
to get victory in every contest. And that's Ekiti State. We believe they have made their own peaceful, violent free, and that's what we are recommending for our people in the state of Osun, to go out and elect a candidate of your choice peacefully, without any rancor. After all, the state belongs to all of us, and INEC, we believe, we do justice. And of course, as my brother said, the security personnel will be here to protect everybody. God, the overall protector, will now protect all of us together. It's about the convenience spot that we draw the curtains this morning. I want to thank Abodeni Adeyemi for your usual camaraderie on this program.
Yes, it's
and
my
for
privilege.
volunteering to come and share experience with us.
It's my
I
privilege.
appreciate you a great deal.
Thank you, sir.
Olatunji Ojo been working behind the scene. I want to thank you most sincerely. Dope Akinyemi. Until next Monday, Babatunde Oguntomi is my name. God bless you all.
So if you look at the constitution of Nigeria, the government is set up basically to do two things.
When people are asking, do we have budget to be?
I would say we still have a budget, because if we don't have a budget, we cannot have government run its activities.
Wow!